And they never think about futures, they never think about past, and they're always jumping and jumping from moment to moment, you see.
Well, do you think they're going to find a purpose?
I hope so.
So as you can see by that clip, this is exactly what inspired me to make this video, because what is happening to us? These are 5 things Yukio Mishima taught me in my 20s as a man, or someone that's trying to become a man. So I'm just gonna read off my notes. So the first one that I really want to talk about is this idea of honor, glory, progression. This idea, if you've ever read something called Wakashu, and I recommend this like in my other video, right? Of exactly on how you should structure yourself in terms of progression and being your idealized self. So if you understand second nature, you understand that there's this idealized world of progression where Japan, in terms of the aesthetics, they want to fit this level of idealism of how they view their life, or how they want to view their life, how their life should, goes into this idea of self-respect and honor and glory. And glory, when I'm describing that, I'm describing it in a way where you put yourself in a situation where you feel like quitting, but you continue. Let's say you're trying to studying Japanese, trying to work as hard as you can. That moment that you want to quit is where you continue. And that feeling, there's like almost tension, right? When you do it, while you're doing it, you don't feel it at that moment. But once it's over, you feel a level of honor, self-respect, and glory. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. My next point is this idea of quote unquote, I guess you could say self-discipline, because a lot of people talk about self-discipline, right? But I actually think about it as more of self-idealism. So like, how do you structure your life in a way where you can reach your ideals? AKA, can you be your best self? And if you could, what are the actions that person must take to become their best self? And I feel like as men, right, we go into this idea of honor, glory, self-respect, or respect in general, right? And in order to be quote unquote respected or have self-respect, you have to go through some level of hardship. So hard work is what garners self-discipline, and self-discipline creates quote unquote self-esteem. And when it creates self-esteem, it creates a level of character. And this is why I find this is like so important for a lot of people in their 20s. This is like probably your peak moment to be your best self. And if you can't do that, then it's not bad, but it's not great either. The next idea is this idea of purpose. And I know you've heard purpose from like so many YouTubers, right? They're like, be on your purpose, blah, 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 blah. There is some truth to the cliche, but also at the same time, right? I feel like when you're purpose driven, when you have something to do as a man, right? When you actually know what you want to do and you know exactly where you're going, that's what I needed when I was 19. That's what I needed when I was 20. I needed something to push me forward, because at that time, right, you really don't know shit. You know nothing at all about who you are and what you want to do. And I feel like most young men have to have that cultivation to an extent, right? You need some level of quote unquote inspiration. How do you self-motivate yourself when you don't feel motivated? How do you do things when you don't want to do them? It's like this level of hard work, but also this idea, again, to idealism. How do I see myself as the best self? And that is what's super important for you to understand. It's like we can't stay stuck in our ways. We have to figure out a way to transform, quote unquote, evolve and become better. My next idea, after you figure out your purpose, after you figure out exactly sort of who you are, this question comes into my head. It's like hard work or, hard work. I'm sure you've seen the meme, right? But at the end of the day, right, like, I feel like hard work is what will create, as I mentioned, the character in who you are and who you're going to become. Because if you never felt satisfied with yourself, if you never felt happy or content with yourself, how do you feel that way? And I feel like as a man speaking this from experience, when I was 19, 20, I wasn't really doing shit with my life. And I feel like we have to do shit with our life to feel a level of purpose and cultivation. By doing hard things, by being like doing things that take responsibility. It's no more about choosing options. We're committed to one thing. And when you're committed to one thing, it makes it very hard in terms of the tension that you're going to build in yourself, like in terms of doing the activity. It's like, why am I still doing this? Why am I here? And I feel like this is super important for a lot of people if you really want to find purpose. And as a young man growing up, you need this. Because once you know who you are, you don't need people to tell you what to do. You don't need people around you. You are just you. And this is what's super important about Mishima, and this is sort of what he taught me, right? Just reading his novels, you sort of see the indirect understanding of this beautifully crafted, idealistic, masculine frame. And this masculine frame of doing hard work, doing hard things, yet still having aesthetic and still being a very intelligent person. These things are incredibly important for a lot of people, and maybe that's you too. And the last one is this idea of self-destruction and death. And I don't want it to sound a little bit morbid, but it does go into that direction just a little bit. Like, it dives into this idea of pushing yourself to an extent where you don't feel like pushing, as I mentioned earlier, right? You don't feel like doing more, but you have to do. And that level of painful endeavor of just trying to achieve something that you really want to do to an extent, but also you know that it will basically change your character and change the person from who you are to who you're going to become. Well, Mishima describes it more as like aesthetics, right? Masculine aesthetics of shaping your body, right? Through hard work and hard labor, and treating yourself as a vehicle or as a art form of your body that represents this sculpture of life. And that's exactly what you're doing to yourself. Just understand this, guys. It's like, what are you going to do if you have like no goals and no purpose? Not saying it's bad, but you have to sort of figure out what you want. And I feel like the first tip, I guess you could say, tactical tip, is just do something that's very, very difficult to do. Like, me running this YouTube channel is very difficult because I'm not good at content. So I probably have to make thousands of these videos before I ever pop off. Same thing with you. What are you going to do next? Anyways, I'll leave it at that. If you like this, again, like the video, subscribe to the video, that subscribe button, or comment below on, what you think. But anyways, take care.